In today's video, I want to share with you the full story of what my mission here is, and today I want to tell you the backstory of what I've been doing the past 5 years, the past 10 or 20 years, and what my mission is, why I want to share, so to say, the things that have worked for me, the things that got me to a place as of right now, which I really love, and it is really just the starting point for another big mission that I'm currently, let's say, getting on. So, to really sum it up, for the past 5 years on and off, I've been traveling the world, over 30 countries, filmed a lot of content around that, telling that story, and that's cool, and like, oh yeah, look at me, that sounds... I've always felt like I've been selling myself a little short. I've always felt like I've been just sharing fleshy highlights, and yeah, sure, cool story, but you see, the background is that, like, what I've been up to, my life. I'm coming from an immigrant family. Like, my parents immigrated to Germany when I was like 5 or 6, and with that, obviously, my perspective on life really changed, and also the perspective of how my life could have gone. I mean, the average salary in Ukraine right now is like 150 to like 200 bucks. The opportunity is quite limited, so that is definitely something that I will be forever grateful for. And yet, it wasn't all sweet and sugary. Coming from an immigrant family, there was always, let's say, a financial struggle. It was always a little bit tough, and from a young age, I had to take on a lot of just responsibility for my life, but also for the people around me, for the family. And I think one of the best things that have ever happened to me was the fact that I had a good role model in my older brother. He started to work at quite an early age, and I followed with him. So I made like my first money when I was like 11, handing out newspapers, and then I've seen him doing like little side hustles, little side businesses, and this is what I got myself into as well. And with that, I would say I really embarked on this just journey of self-sufficiency, but also building deep self-trust on the one side. And on the other side, another factor that was really amazing is that my mom got me into, let's say, personal development books at quite an early age. She had a few good books laying around. I believe it was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Rich Dad Poor Dad, The Secret, which is definitely not one of my favorites, but she really opened this door for me, and that was at this point a good 10 years ago. And I would say these two factors have been the biggest thing of how I was able to just always see my life on the one side as it is, but also as it could be, coming from a growth mindset, from a mindset of, yes, my life is this situation right now, and there have been many points in my life where I really felt emotionally miserable. I wanted to tune out life. I've been listening all day long to YouTube videos just because reality emotionally has been a little bit harsh at certain, let's say, points of the road. But at the same time, I've also decided that this is just a point where I'm at right now, and this is not where I'm gonna be going. Going from there, I think really it was the age of 16, 17, where I really decided to retransform and redesign my life. I changed up my friend circle, not like from one day to another, but slowly, really actively started to reach out, to look for people that have a more similar, let's say, outlook on how they wanna live the future, and not just like be hanging around, drinking some good beers. You can do that once a week, but like, it's not where I've seen myself heading to. And with that, started to read a little bit more books. With that, started to make a little bit more money. And since then, every single month I've been putting money aside. Sure, there have been months where I maybe invested in a little bit of something, but at the same time, this has been another, let's say, freedom-giving cushion, very much mentally. Sure, going forward, it will be just good to also build a wealth foundation, but that is what really also one of the big things that allowed me to then actually go out and travel. And I think the first big solo trip that I did was when I was 17. Back in the day, I had to apply for a visa to go to UK, and it was quite the big thing. Just for over a week, been completely by myself, didn't know anyone, went to an event, and I gotta say, it has been amazing. It's been really the first time where I was like, wow, there's such big goals that I have, such big visions of my future, but there's no one who wants to join, who wants to help me, none of my friends are into that. And that was like a big point where I realized is that you don't really need anyone to start. Further down the road, you will meet people who are on the same journey and who are walking the same walk, and that was kind of like the hope that I had. And now 5, 6 years later, what is it? 5, 6, 7 years later, this is really manifesting itself into my reality. So with this channel right now, I decided that sure, next to cool, flashy travel stuff and telling the story and walking the walk and not just talking the talk, I want to share all the deep insights into what is going on in my head. Like, oh yeah, so deep. But really, the things that I think about day to day, let's say the awareness and the consciousness and the analysis of what I feel like allows me to take the actions that I am taking pretty much on a daily basis. And nice to you, huh? So to really put the mission into words, I want to share what in the past 5 to 10 years, you could say, helped me to build the life that I was able to build right now. But I really see this just as a starting point, just as the, let's say, the fundamentals, the little bit of freedom that I was able now to achieve with a few income sources that allow me to travel now. But really, I don't just want to teach, let's say, the personal ethics side, the personal development, the self-helpy, the how can I look more confident, the how can I be more productive, scheduling my day, time management, how to avoid procrastination, all very much surface work that sure is also very, very important, but it's just really the top layer, and this is what I see common mainstream, what I see everybody's focusing on, how to jump on the new diet, how to have this little new hack, this little new watch that tracks. But what about the personal ethic? What about the really underlying reasons of why we are lazy, of why we cannot going, of why we don't believe ourselves, of why we don't feel good enough, which is usually deeply rooted in maybe some child events, in the form of parenting that you perceive, and just little events, like for example, just your teacher telling you when you were like 10 or 11, oh, you didn't do your homework, you will never amount to anything, your work ethic is just not sufficient. And you accepted that maybe. And you maybe took that identity on. Maybe somebody told you, you will always be weak, you will always be slow, you will never be able to be an athlete. That's what they told you at a young age. But maybe you are able to make that shift. Maybe you're able to transcend into this new reality of who you can be. So my videos here on the channel, there are definitely no short 5 hacks to be more confident. Maybe the title will be there, but it will always be long form content where I want to connect it to your personal story and relevant literature. So the past 5 to 10 years, I've been looking in a good bunch into that, listening to some of the greatest minds, but yet the only thing that I know is that I don't know anything. One of the most famous quotes of our time, and not just our time, but of the last few millennia and thousands of years. So what I really want to do going forward in the next 10 years is really build a body of knowledge from studying not only the current literature and the current culture, which is very relevant when it comes to making adjustments into how we act in today's society, but also look at the grand big ideas of the past few decades. Carl Jung, Nietzsche, understanding yourself. For example, Carl Jung, understanding your shadow, understanding that all of us have a certain dark side, something that holds you back, and learning to accept it and to deal with it. But also looking further down, hundreds, thousands of years. If you look at the Roman Empire, the Stoic writings, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, you're gonna notice that a certain wisdom has been around almost since the beginning of time. We have been passing it on, we have been perfecting, we have been molding it, but yet I feel like for the past 50 to 100 years we have been focusing a lot on the outer work, both on the external, what we like, just amounting wealth, amounting comfort, but what that the certain comfort did to us, to the way we feel, to the way we interact to each other. And I really see a transformation in the next 10, 20, 50 years of us going back to a more character ethic, to more of an ethic of building core values, building certain core characteristics, which takes years, decades, and it's something that is not as obvious as just like a few little hacks and you look a little bit more confident on the inside, maybe you'll make a little bit of money, but what is happening deep inside of you, and why is that some people after a few years, after a few months of walking an amazing walk of great development, and then they just fall back. And this is what I think is really the result of just, let's say, all of these little hacky personal development videos that give it to you in 5 minutes and you just use it as entertainment. So here it's definitely a little bit rougher, and it's not just a guy in front of a white wall at his mom's basement just spitting truths from some books. It's half the truth. I really try to walk the talk. I really try to all the time put myself into situations that force me to grow. This is why I made the decision a few months ago to sell all my belongings, to completely, let's say, leave my life behind, which wasn't bad at all. I loved it, but I knew that I was getting too comfortable. I knew that I was selling myself short, and not to mistake that with me at the age of 23 saying that, oh, I need to climb the highest mountain now, but I know that I need to set up the fundamentals for the next decade, for the next decades, to build the life that I want to live and to have the impact that I want to have. So with that, thank you very much for watching. I hope you're as pumped for the ride as I am. And with that, as always, you're very welcome to reach out to me. I'm very interested who watches the video, and if you feel like there is something I could help you with. Currently, I work with a few people on building our online presence, and with that, there's also a lot of limiting beliefs usually that hold you back. Just picking up a camera and recording videos is the one thing, but what holds you back from doing that? So this is something that I work on a lot with people, both to just the practical insight, the SEO, the production side, the editing side, and health and fitness. Over the past 10 years, I do have to say, when I got into physical fitness, I've been able to maintain a certain shape even when I'm all the time on the road with, on the one side, the mental work, the mindset work, but also almost automizing the process of staying in shape. So this is something that I help people with as well. So if that's something that you think we would be a good match, definitely reach out to me, either through email, tell me who you are, what you're up to, and what it is that you think I could help you with, or Instagram, but there, a little bit harder to reach me, so email is definitely the way to go. And if you're still here, it means a lot that you're watching. I'm checking out right now to Singapore, heading for another very, very productive and impactful month in Bali. It will be a month of working, of setting up fundamentals for this year, 2020. It sounds very heavy and strong, 2020. I hope this will be your year. I will make sure to make it mine, and we're gonna see each other very soon.